Good afternoon, everyone. Most of you are watching the recordings as the stats show, but those who are live, welcome, and we got a lot to take a look at the moment. Overall, it's pretty red, as the announcement banner already said. Quickly looking, Europe taking quite a plunge. Asia, Shanghai was down almost 6%, so that's very nasty there. US pre-market in the red, but floating up and down a bit. Between very red and red, actually. Some crazy exceptions, obviously, like Twitter jumping 5% on the rumor that they might accept Musk's offer to buy the whole thing. And the interesting thing is pretty much everything is down. Yeah, natural gas has been the weird duck in the pond lately anyway. But stock markets are down, oil is down quite a lot. Gold and metals are all in the red. Bonds, except for Japan, is floating around zero, but the bonds are also taking a bit down. And obviously over the weekend Bitcoin took also quite a drop down. So looking at that, it seems there's quite a lot of uncertainty in the market at the moment, and that often leads to a deflationary event where people are just running to the dollar, selling pretty much all different asset classes. So even the hedges, even the bonds, they just going to the dollar as far as it seems by all the red in the market. Morning peak. So any news events relevant for crypto? I have not seen that much. Obviously the central banks and the Fed won't do it. Yeah, that's wishful thinking, I think. But overall, the April sell-off continues. Some good news. Like fundamentally, there's a lot of good things happening for Bitcoin, but with the whole market being red, then yeah, what can I do? So quickly looking at the calendar, quite an eventful day, and I included the EU sessions in there. Today pretty quiet, but tomorrow durable goods. Let's see if the expected growth there will happen or not. I do have a bit of doubts about that, that's why I marked it red. Consumer confidence is looking to be the same, new home sales pretty much also the same. But if these numbers, the real numbers differ too much from the consensus, then these could definitely be market movers. Wednesday pretty quiet, no big things. Thursday GDP numbers. You see the growth rate is expected to drop from 7 to 1%. So that's quite a nasty drop there. And even if it will get here, then there might be some surprises to the downside even further. So these GDP and the durable goods are one thing to look at for sure. Then Friday is the big one, and that will probably not be visible in the markets on Friday, but you got a reaction Monday, as you can call it, after that. But Bitcoin tends to price in the expected Monday performance of the stock market over the weekend, as we saw this weekend. We'll take a look at that in a bit. Hey Bravco, welcome back you too. So Friday, European GDP growth rates and core inflation rates and the normal inflation rates, like the CPIs of Europe, personal income, personal spending in the US, So Friday could lead to a wild weekend for crypto and a red Monday or very green Monday. So enough on those macroeconomic things. Let's dive into some charts. US dollar continuing to go up. We see we had this small reversal that was perfectly shot at, but we do see that the blue trend line is steadily increasing again. We see the trend momentum stabilizing and looking to curve up. We see the RSI delta starting to go up, and we're still in a neutral count zone. So that often shows that there's a very bullish conditions in the market. So 1, 2, 3, expect the next candle here to start a green count, maybe even today already. DXY, well, it's hard to say where it will end up. There's so little. We have to go really far back to get any reference on history. You saw that we broke this very important top. We do have this previous high at around 103 as the next target for the DXY. Let's mark that one up. And the dollar has rarely been stronger on just a few rare occasions. Here we also have some highs, not there. Very hard to do when you're so zoomed in. I'll fix that up later, but still also just above the, probably at the 103, 104-ish range is definitely the next zone to break. But after that, this hasn't happened in decades. So usually when Bitcoin, when DXY is pumping, then Bitcoin is not pumping because its denominator is increasing. So let's see if we get any pullbacks, but I don't expect really sturdy pullbacks until we hit those previous highs around 103. It is looking to continue that trend. Quickly looking at the stock market correlation, we have the Nasdaq here with that rejection at the 200-day moving average, confirmed rejection. We broke it, we failed, we tried another again, and we got rejected. And we see here the correlation with Bitcoin is currently, the correlation between the Nasdaq and Bitcoin is currently 96%. So it has been correlating in the recent weeks, yeah, pretty much 100%. Some small variations, but I think the lowest part was 90% correlation earlier in April. So I don't expect that to change. The question is the stock market redness of today already priced in Bitcoin over the weekend? And it does tend to do that quite often. So we'll take a look at the stock markets in detail, but at least the correlation between Bitcoin and specifically the Nasdaq at the moment is very, very strong. So keep that in mind. The last few sessions of US market open, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, as soon as the markets opened, Bitcoin started to go down. So definitely something to watch out for in about an hour or that. Gold also having a bit of a pullback. Let's see if we can zoom in a bit. I haven't updated the trend profit indicator here to the last version. It will be published tomorrow or today with some nice additions there. So zoomed in on gold, we still holding the levels, still floating around that 1900 as bottom, and as long as we don't go below, let's say, pretty much 1890, 1880, then I think it will reverse pretty soon. Trend strength has dropped a bit. The blue line is stable. The trend momentum is not very strong, so there's not a lot of momentum behind these price ranges. It's pretty much going sideways for quite a while now. We do have that pullback on the count 8 with the warning sign. Lovely price action there. So long term, gold still looking good. It's just that handle in progress could take a long time. Gold is a slow mover, but still looking all right. Oh, the Bitcoin chart. We have this from last week's MMA. I said, yeah, it's pretty much decision time. Do we go to the middle of the channel or do we go test the bottom again? And so far it looks like the direction is towards the bottom of the channel. So that brings us to a downside target around 35, 36k as the potential bottom based on this long-term channel. For the rest, it's not much we can say based on the oscillators. Hash ribbons don't show any critical signs. Volume is pretty low lately, so there's not a lot of volume being processed. So nothing really on those time frames that's surprising. Bitcoin dominance still sideways obviously in this market. Ethereum to Bitcoin chart. Yeah, no surprise there. Bitcoin does badly, then also will Ethereum, but it does seem to be pretty much around a bottom here. We do have that second trend line that catches the wicks and it went below it just for a bit. So let's see how Bitcoin develops. It's not much use looking at alts at the moment with the current state of Bitcoin. Interestingly, we see that both the longs and the shorts are going up, and that pretty much tells me that the whales are in hedge mode. So they have a 1x long and a 1x short at the same time, for instance. So whatever direction it goes, they don't lose any money, they don't win any money. So doesn't happen that often, but I think this is a very how do you say that in English? It's a good example of what's happening in the market, the uncertainty. Rare side, for the last couple of days they have seemed to be hedging. If you look at the Bitcoin price for the last days, that was a good decision. They did manage to hold their value instead of having it in Bitcoin. Alright. Total market cap. It's dropping inside the zone again. That zone, support zone. So far we are bouncing from it. But I hope this one does hold, otherwise we will probably go back to these 1.5 trillion-ish. And that would mean that about, from the current state, 105, there would be 15% value leaving crypto. The whole of crypto, obviously, with the altcoins being most hit, most likely. So it's holding, but we have to see if that continues. If you look at the trend, we didn't even reach the resistance zone here, and we already got rejected and following down last week. So it's not looking that bright, to be honest. Quickly looking at the stock markets. Last Wednesday I was speaking about this double top scenario on the Dow Jones, and it has been playing out perfectly so far. That was solid. Oops, I did not want to remove. There we go, this line can go. We seem to be at the daily harmonic, some harmonic entries here, but it does not look like we're getting it. We might get a small bounce up. I did yesterday in the private channel say I expected the Dow Jones to open like 1 to 2% down, and this is the future, so it seems to be happening, and maybe a few percent run up towards that 35k-ish, making a lower high and then drop. So there is definitely a chance that we will have a slight relief rally to 35 before continuing down. That would not be surprising at all. Just like here, you had the double top, you had a bit pullback, then a bit of a relief rally, very small. We went up again. We went down again. Obviously, this relief rally could bring some upside potential for Bitcoin too. Same on the S&P 500, pretty much the same picture with just some variances in the volatility there. It's looking red and might get a small relief rally before dropping down again. Interestingly, let me just clean up a bit. Let's clean it up totally. If we take a look at the Fibonacci here, like here we just looking to see where the correlation is. Nothing here. But this does seem like often I pick. No, it's not the one. I saw a very nice correlation earlier, but I can't remember now where I found it. Well, let's just look at the last move on the S&P 500. We were trying to bounce on the 50%. We failed on that. And if we take a look at the inverse of here, we didn't even make the 618 retrace on the bounce up again, so that's a very weak sign. We now seem to be holding around the 786, but I really think that we might get a bit of a relief rally, 2-3% up maybe, but I don't see that holding on long term. Because if you zoom out, it has been, we went down, we made a double top, we went down, relief rally, we went down, nice double bottom here, got a nice work up, but we haven't really got close to the top of the range. And now this will be very decisive where the next high time frame pivot will be. Will we make a lower low and form like a bit of an expanding wedge, or will we pivot here and start sideways accumulation before the next move into the summer? It all depends on the macro economics, but we have to wait a bit for more data. So one scenario, let's turn off that magnet, is that we make a higher low here and start in a bit sideways accumulation for a while. The other scenario is if we make a lower low, we will also probably get a relief rally, but then there's a much higher chance of more downside potential here. And it's pretty much no way to tell how far that drop will be. The only thing you can do is take an educated guess based on Fibonacci's. If we take the Cerveza disease low, and you see we are only making a 236 shallow retrace so far. It would not be crazy at all to go to the low 3K numbers here, and that would be from the current point in time, that would be approximately, say a 50% retrace would be 17-18% down. So there's plenty of space for a big drop on the stock markets, and I think the whole macroeconomics and the Fed policy are aligning towards that. So even though we might get some small relief rallies, accumulation sideways, statistically this route is the highest scenario. Obviously on the way down we will have several volatile moves, but I think this area here, the golden pocket, is maybe just below that 50% where we have that previous high from before the March 20 crash. These are likely reversal points here if we break the current levels down. Dow Jones, doesn't matter, Nasdaq, there will be some variances in between, but the big picture will be the same. And same for the US stocks market. I think that's if we take a quick rough look, we're still also on the 236 at the moment, and that would also be just a bit less of a drop than the US stock market, so that will probably mean 14 to 20% downside potential. Obviously we have to see if we might make a double bottom structure here and reverse. That's always an option there. So short-term stock markets, we might get a bit of a relief rally in the coming days until we get the figures on Friday mainly, and maybe on the Wednesday. Let's look at Bitcoin. The big question is the current state of the market. Has that already been priced in the weekend drop here yesterday and the beginning of this morning? At the moment we did make a lower low, but it was quite briefly. We are bouncing off this red fib line, again line here, but we are also back testing this previous support that's turning into resistance. We fell through it here, we back tested it, had a small pullback on lower time frames and then broke it. So this is very pivotal price, that 39k. Will we be able to get back above it? And then this was just a very Wyckofian spring. The ideal scenario is that Bitcoin will drop its correlation a bit, or if the stock markets have a bit of a relief rally, that we break it, we backtest it now as support, and then go back to that 41k, and we have to see how many times we get rejected here, and if the result is a drop down or back into the big resistance zone here. Other scenario is we try once, we try twice, maybe even 3 times, and then continue on our way down to the next big support level around 37,500 to 36,500, that big support level. That was a very important level for a long time in the past. Yeah, it came to its existence in August 21 and has played a pretty significant role since then. So pretty much nothing conclusive at the moment. I am waiting to see what happens with this resistance here at 39k. If it breaks and backtests, we could get a nice long trade. If we test it once or twice again and we keep failing, then there's definitely a very good short trade on the horizon. Smaller time frames. Let's go to the 1 hour. We see this recovery a bit. Trend momentum is crawling towards the 0. Delta is about to flip to positive, but we're still in the oversold territories. So probably if we break this level here, the 39 zone that we saw in the previous chart, that's the level to break. If we break it, we will also make a higher high on this local 1 hour time frame. We'll have to see how the next test of that level comes. If we break it, then we will probably see exiting the oversold area, and that's often a very nice entry point there in the lower time frames. 30 minutes also oversold. The 4 hour also oversold, and definitely no signs of recovery there yet. We did briefly exit oversold here on this little upward sloping sideways consolidation the last few days, making a nice fat anchor wave, that's for sure, but you have to see how things develop there. Quickly looking at scalping time frames, we are upsloping here a bit, might be forming something nice there, like an ascending triangle, and it looks like if you take the height of the triangle as your measured move, you will hit that resistance zone exactly on the 4 hour. So nice scalp here. We exited the oversold, waiting for trend momentum to pick a direction. It reversed here with divergence, and we had this little confirmation low. We had a bit of a rally, confirmation low, and now we're continuing upwards. But that's obviously scalping time frames, 5 minutes. Quickly looking at the hedges, they're also probably still in the red. must say that US oil fund is still looking good. We're still pretty much floating around that breakout point. As long as this holds, it still has the potential for much higher prices there. This is, I think, one of the better looking hedges still on the daily time frame. We might wick a bit lower, but really like how that looks. Trend is still steady, going sideways. There's no change there. Obviously we're in accumulation range. Trend momentum is, it's not much volatility at the moment, so we have to wait. If this support from the breakout point solidifies and it will manage to catch a rally there. Gold, obviously a bit of a pullback there. Perfectly called on that 1 day time frame again by the trend profit. It's been doing a lot of good for gold trades for me. Silver Trust also in the pullback. Gold miners, quite a steep pullback. That was not what you would expect, but as I started the stream with, it looks like we're in a deflationary phase where money is just exiting all markets and hedging in US dollars. We will have to see where the money rotates to when things calm down again and pick directions. This is the SPX ETF, the SPY. One of the tokenized stocks you can trade on FTX. So if you want to long the US stock markets, this is a very easy way to do. Just quickly pulling the hedges. If you have gold and PAX gold, you get the real stock and the FTX tokenized stocks, and when you're in pre-market conditions, it's nice to see how they correlate. Overall, pretty much everything is still red there. Quick peek on the new indicator I'll be releasing this week, hopefully. I've been test running it with small amounts, and so far I had 7 trades done. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I started somewhere here with running it as a test, and I had those 5 shorts and 2 longs so far without any glitches. Looking amazingly good, so I'm very excited about that. It's scalping on the 50-minute time frame, and these statistics are just amazing. So I haven't found the right name for this indicator yet, so just finishing off the last details in the code, some cleanups, some fixes in the inputs, some clarifications there. So hopefully this week it will be as a beta release to the VIPs group. Yeah, peak, definitely suggestion time. Let's do that in the VIP lounge a bit later. Might make a bit of a contest out of it. So all the tests look good. We don't have any repaint issues yet. No other oddities. No, very cool indicator there. You will definitely see more about that. Wrong answers only. Oh dear, here we go. Thanks, Peak. So that covered everything I wanted to cover today. Keep an eye out on the stock markets. Will we get that relief rally or will we continue down? That pretty much will determine the direction of Bitcoin. Keep in mind last Wednesday, Thursday and Friday Bitcoin was going up until US stock markets opened, and then it dropped pretty badly back down again. Keep that scenario in mind. We are hitting that resistance zone here around 39, and if those things come together again, then we could see 37.5 to 37k quite fast. So lovely trade opportunity here at the moment. I'm definitely looking out for the stock markets moves in the coming hour until the markets open. Mostly the Nasdaq, because that seems to be the highest correlation with Bitcoin. Alright, I will be streaming more things this week. The new version of the trend profit indicator with these additions on the top that you see and these exclamation marks being added will probably be tomorrow, and later this week the beta release of the scalping indicator that has not been named yet. Suggestions welcome. So keep an eye out, focus on short opportunities. It's what I am doing, and trade safe and respect your stop losses. Zo vergeten we ook.